Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to episode 1 of my new TBR Takedown series. I love playing games, rolling the dice, randomizing things on both of my YouTube channels, and a big goal of mine for 2024 has been to reduce my physical TBR, and so far I have not been successful in that. So in order to fix this, I have decided to play a TBR takedown game with snakes and ladders. I have been doing this on my book talk for a little while now, though I've kind of fallen off, but I decided to incentivize myself in completing this challenge by going on a book buying ban until I reach the end. I'm sure you're all familiar with what a traditional snakes and ladders game board looks like, but here we are. We have 100 spaces. Now I have ordered my physical TBR by page count on a Goodreads shelf. And my goal is going to be knocking out the smallest books to really gain momentum and see that number change. So down here at the bottom, these will be the smallest books I have, and then towards the top will be somewhere in the middle. As I said, I have around 300 books on my physical TBR. As a part of this series, I will be reading 5 books per episode until we reach the end. And once we reach the end, we are going to go book shopping together. And if I read between 1 and 10 books, I can purchase 1 new book with you guys. If I read 11 to 20 books, I can purchase 2 books, etc. Now there's 100 spaces on this board, so this could take a long time, especially if I continue to hit those snakes. Now, of course, I have to have little twists to go along with this game. If I hit a ladder here, in my book talk version of this, that is a free pick, but for the purposes of this YouTube video series challenge, if I hit a ladder, I'm going to read a book off of my Roll the Dice with a Dash of Chaos monthly TBR so that I'm not neglecting that while I go about this game. And if I hit a snake, I will need to draw a book out of my very dusty TBR jar. This poor TBR jar has been severely neglected. The yellow papers are from These Books Will Self-Destruct, which was done quite a long time ago, and I still have not reacted to that video and unhauled the books. The pink slips of paper are from my 23 books to read in 2023, and the purple slips of paper are from my 24 books to read in 2024. So if I land on a snake, I will reach in here. I'm very nervous about it, hence why this has been being neglected. Reach in blindly, pull out a book. If I have read that book already, I will just discard that paper and draw again. The goal will be to using the snakes on the board to reduce the amount of books in this TBR jar, and again, making progress on my physical TBR. And having these fun elements with the ladders and the snakes will hopefully keep it from being boring for you guys, and I'm not only going to be reading very short books. If I land on a square and the book in the list in that spot, so for example, if I land on square number 2, I will go to my Goodreads shelf, ordered from smallest book to largest book, and I will be choosing book number 2 and go through it that way. If it is a part of a series, I will read the book in that series that I am up to. I hope that makes sense. I hope that that was enough explanation. I feel like I hit all the points I had thought of, and maybe things will make more sense as we go along. But in today's reading vlog, we will be reading 5 books, see how far we get on the board. This has the potential to take a very long time. I really hope to make a ton of progress on my physical TBR and then be able to sneakily buy some new books as well. Before we get too far into this series, in a comment below, have a guess on how many books you think I will need to read in order to reach the end of the Snakes and Ladders board. But let's stop rambling. Let's head over and do our very first roll and find out what our first book is going to be. All right, here we are with the Snakes and Ladders board. For now, I have this orange game piece, and we are going to do roll number 1, which is 2, 1, 2. Let's head over to Goodreads and see what book number 2 is. Here we are. It appears Hellfire is put in here incorrect. They don't have the number of pages in on the Goodreads listing, so even if we ignore that, I will still end up reading the same book. But I'm going to be reading Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Search Part 1, which is only 76 pages, so that will be a really fast read. All right, book number 1 is actually a comic or a graphic novel. This is Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Search Part 1. I do own Part 1 and Part 2. I really love Avatar: The Last Airbender. I can't remember the last time I would have watched the series from start to finish, and I still have not watched the new adaptation. But this is only 76 pages, and I'll be able to read this super fast, and we'll move on to our second book. As I'm sure you can imagine, this did not take me very long at all, like 20 minutes maybe. I'm going to give this 4 stars. So this is occurring after the main anime. Are there comics for this? Anyways, that is what I have watched, and the gang is all together. We have that found family vibes, and we are going to find Zuko's mother. That is what the search is about, and this comes in 3 parts, the story does. So I finished this one. I really liked it. I love the art. I love these characters. It's not a full 5-star. It's a bit confusing in the swapping of timelines, but we're getting Zuko and Azula's mother's POV from when she was a teen and first betrothed to the Fire Nation, and then them coming together to go find her. So it's a bit confusing for the first half, but then it kind of all comes together, and I'm excited to pick up the second one. But this is book 1 done. Let's do another roll. All right, we have our board here. Oops, we were on number 2. Let's do roll number 2. That is a 4, so we are on space 6. Let's find out what number 6 on my Goodreads shelf is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are on The Miserable Mill, which is the 4th book in the series of unfortunate events, and that is the one in the series that I'm up to, so that is perfect. Good morning. I listened to The Miserable Mill mostly last night and then finished the last couple of pages this morning with my coffee. The audiobook is only 3 hours long, and listening to it on 2.5 speed, it was very quick to get through. I think this is my least favorite so far. This is a children's series. I have them on my shelf mostly for my children now, but also for nostalgia. I remember reading these here and there as a child, but never the full series from book 1 to book 13 or however many there are. So this is book 4. It was roll number 2. I'm glad to have read it, but I think I'm going to give this 3 stars. But let's do roll number 3. All right, the miserable mill was spot number 6, so we are going to roll our dice for book number 3. Oops, 1, 2, 3, a ladder. And going up the ladder means I should choose something from my monthly TBR to help me meet my goals. I do still have quite a number of books left on my August TBR I haven't read yet, so let's go over to my book cart. All right, here is my book cart. If I scooch these over, this is what is remaining on my August TBR. Part of me wants to choose this so we can just do the next roll, but I've actually been really wanting to get to The One by John Mars. This one is a bit of a thicker read, but I think it's going to be a fast-paced thriller. I've heard that it has super short chapters, which will help me read through it really quickly, so I'm going to choose this one, a bit of a bigger one, but one I'm really looking forward to. Hey guys, I have picked up The One by John Mars, and I'm a little less than 100 pages into this. I'm sucked in. Let me give a brief synopsis. So, this is a thriller, and in this world, which it's like contemporary, but now, instead of your regular marriage, many people, over 1 billion people in the world, have submitted their DNA similar to Ancestry.com, and they have discovered a way to biologically match you with your soulmate. And people are really, like, I don't know how much time this has been going on where we're at, but like, people are using this as a way to connect with their soulmate and then they get married, and like being matched is more important than like dating or anything like that. I don't know if that makes sense, but many people also just end up waiting years and years and years, so they still date and stuff in the meantime, but then you could be married with kids and your match finally comes in 20 years later and people are getting a divorce and then going with their match. Like, the match is superior for these relationships. We are following so many characters, so many POVs. It's really hard to keep track of. Only now I'm at 95 pages in, and only now am I starting to pick up on the names, where they are in the world, familiarize myself with who they are, who they're matched with, all of that. The characters are all very different occupations, voices, but there's just so many of them, it's hard to keep them track. But the chapters are supremely short. I'm talking 2 to 5 pages long. There's about 100 pages in this, but because the chapters are short, I'm just flying through this. I read the first 90 pages in like no time yesterday. I was just completely sucked in. And it's just so interesting that biologically you could be matched with some very scary people. One character in here we know is a serial killer, and then he gets an email with his match. So he goes to meet this new woman that he's now going to find out everything he needs to know about her and all these things. And then a woman is matched with someone who unfortunately has already passed away, and so now she is grappling with terms of being lonely forever, basically. Like, if everyone else is waiting for their match, even if she dates and falls in love with someone else, they could get an email at any time, and then they almost always go with their match. Many people who consider themselves straight get matched with a same-sex person, and that throws them for a loop. Like, it's just so interesting and compulsively readable. I'm going to keep reading this. If my thoughts have changed at the halfway point, I will check in again, but if it's just, obviously, I'm not going to spoil anything, then I'll just check in when I'm done to do our 4th roll. But I'm very happy that I chose this off my TBR and that Wyatt put this on my TBR, because this is very good. I'm rambling now. I'm just kind of like, as I'm processing it, my mind's kind of blown a little bit. Like there's so much to think about, so many complications, effects, like it's very fascinating. Okay, I'll stop rambling now. I just finished this. 5 stars. I will come back with a better review later. For now, wow. That's my review. This was so good. I think in my check-in I had mentioned that I'm not really sure like how it turns into like a thriller. It does. It does. Okay, I'm looking very rough, but I want to do our 4th roll right now. And then hopefully I will have gathered more coherent thoughts on this book, but this was excellent. Excellent. So let me turn you around to our Snakes and Ladders game. So as you know, our 3rd roll got us this ladder. So the 1 was off of my monthly TBR. So roll number 4, we have a snake coming up, which is out of my TBR jar, which would be very scary, but 1. Let's go see what book number 32 is on my Goodreads list. Hey guys, I've read 3 chapters of Brutal Intentions by Lilith Vincent. This is a very taboo romance, but I'm enjoying it so far. Just 3 chapters brought me all the way to page 55, and this book is just a little over 250 pages long. This has mafia vibes, and the romance is going to be between Mia, who is 18 trying to finish out high school, and her new stepfather. So Laz and Mia's mom had an arranged marriage between their very powerful families and are tasked with producing a child. And that's it. They've been married for just a couple of weeks. They were both forced into it. And Laz has his eyes set on his new stepdaughter. He is in his late 20s. She's 18. It's very taboo, obviously, because of the stepfather aspect. There is a lot of trigger warnings at the beginning of this book. We have dubious consent. Birth control is merely a suggestion to this man. We have an alpha hole, forced orgasms, lots of stuff, but I'm really enjoying it so far. Dark romances are really hit or miss for me because depending on how horrible they are to each other, I don't always like buy into the romance part by the end. We'll see how I feel about this. Right now it's like very entertaining, but from a believable romance side, I'm only 3 chapters in, so not really buying anything so far or like really seeing how it's going to come together, but having a great time nonetheless. It's very spicy right from the first chapter, which I was expecting from a short taboo novel, but I'll check in again if I have more thoughts. So far, so good. I just finished Brutal Intentions. Why did I love this? Why am I tempted to give this 5 stars? This was probably the best dark romance I have read so far, which I haven't read a ton of dark romance, but this was quite shocking for me, very taboo, very outside of my comfort zone, and yet I loved it. I read through this so fast. It's just over 250 pages, but I haven't fully decided if I'm gonna give it like the full 5 stars, but it's definitely like 4, 4.5, 5. I need to simmer with my thoughts a little bit. This was good. I'm glad I have the second book, but we need to do our 5th and final roll for this reading vlog and find out what the last book I'm going to be reading is. Roll number 5, we ended on space 32. Let's see, I have no idea what we're going to get. Another 1, okay, 33. Let's head over to Goodreads. All right, here we are. We need to go to page 2 and count down. So this will be 21. We need to get to 33. This is 33, but I hope that I have the first book in this series. I've never read anything by Patricia Briggs, and yet I have so many of her books because I found them yard sailing in a big bundle. So number 33 is Hunting Ground, but let's see, Alpha and Omega. We need to see if we have in book 1, which is Cry Wolf. Okay. Let me go see if I can find this. It is an urban fantasy paranormal. This sounds like it will be a fun read. Okay, I just had to slide these. They're like hidden behind my desk, but here is Cry Wolf. Before I for sure get started, I want to see if there is like a reading order within Patricia Briggs's series. Like, are they all interconnected? I have no idea, but I have quite a lot of her books, so let me see if I can figure that out. Okay, I found this Where to Start Patricia Briggs, and it says to start with Mercy Thompson, and then it's expanded upon in the series. This is getting a smidgen complicated, but hopefully I have the book I need to start. This is what happens when you do a lot of thrifting, but that's okay. Okay, suggested reading order. Mercy Thompson books, series books 1 through 5. Okay. Let me figure out. I'm sorry that this is so complicated. Okay, well, I'm in luck because it looks like I have a ton of these books on My Physical TBR, and I should be reading Moon Called and really these first 5 books before reading this one. So, all right, so we're going to do a bit of a switcheroo. Maybe I should order these in the right order at some point, but anyways, we will be reading. We finally got there, you guys. Moon Called by Patricia Briggs, the first Mercy Thompson novel. Okay, as mentioned, I think this book is going to be really fun to start this fall. Mercy Thompson is a female mechanic. She's trying to fix something that belongs to a vampire. Werewolves can be dangerous, blah, blah, blah. Very paranormal. This was published in 2006, so I'm expecting some cringy writing, but I'm hoping that overall I enjoy it. If I read a few of these books and I'm not enjoying it, I will move along. But this book is 288 pages, but it's this like teeny mass market paperback, so I should be able to read through this very quickly as well. But we are starting another series, which is very concerning, but at least they're all on My Physical TBR. I am soaking up all of the sunshine I can get, and I am reading Moon Called outside in my hammock. It feels so lovely out here, even though it is now September. I just want to spend as much time in the warm sunshine before the seasonal depression kicks in, you know? I am 94 pages into this book, and I was going to update you guys earlier this morning, but I wanted to get a little bit more reading in first. And I was feeling like, wow, this book is taking me so long to read. It's less than 300 pages, and I feel like I am just turning the pages so slowly. And part of that has to do with it's small text and with like hardly any margins, and some of the pages, it's just like not put together the best. Like, look at the margins on that page. They're like non-existent. It almost looks like the text is going to run right off the edge. But then I was thinking like, oh, I'm reading this so slowly. What is going on? Because I was only about 50 pages in this morning. Then I was like, actually, so much has happened in this book. I can't even imagine what there is left in the next 200 pages. So the story itself is going so quickly. It's definitely aged. Like, you can tell that this was written in, you know, before 2010. I think it's like 2006. And there's definitely some dated language in here. Yeah, 2006. And it just has that like old paranormal super long series vibe, if that makes sense. But I don't even know if I told you guys what this is about. I'm getting ahead of myself. We are following Mercy Thompson. That's what the series is called. Her name is Mercedes. She goes by Mercy. She is a shifter, but she shifts into a coyote, and she is a mechanic, which this cover, my husband's a mechanic, and there are few, but there are female mechanics in the field, and I just feel like this cover just does them such a disservice because, I mean, I'm sure she's not fixing vehicles looking like this, you know what I mean? Anyways, and we do have some of that like car talk in here, which is interesting. I was talking to my husband about it, and he was like, oh yeah, everything seems accurate so far. And in this world, there are vampires, witches, werewolves, coyote shifters, gremlins, like all kinds of things, different kinds of fae. But we are focused on Mercy, who is our coyote shifter, and how she is differing from the werewolves. And there's some tension going on in the packs here. And the werewolves are very dangerous to her because she's so much smaller, she's much different, and two types of predators don't get along within the same area, so she tries to kind of fly under the radar a little bit. She doesn't really get involved in pack business, but she lives next door to the alpha in her area, and she is roped into some big trouble. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but she's pulled into some trouble, and so much is happening. It's really interesting so far. I'm having a great time. I was a bit hesitant, kind of thinking like, oh, if I don't really enjoy this, I might just use this opportunity to unhaul the entire huge series of Patricia Briggs novels I have on my shelf, but I'm actually having a great time so far. I need to go help the kids, and then I'm going to soak up the sunshine and get quite a lot of reading done. I don't know if I'll update again unless I have like some big change in feelings, but so far I'm having a great time. Hi guys, I just finished Moon Called this morning, and this was so surprising to me. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. There's a ton of action and moving pieces going on in here. It's definitely that older paranormal, you know, super long series vibe, but in this case I'm actually super into it. The pack politics are very intriguing, and where we left off, no spoilers, I am quite intrigued to try my best to get the second book On to my October TBR. You guys know I play Roll the Dice with a Dash of Chaos, so I don't always get the books that I want, but I have set book 2 aside. I really enjoyed this, and this is the 5th and final book for this reading vlog. I would say episode 1 of TBR Takedown was certainly a success. We knocked these 5 books off my physical TBR. They are all on the shorter side, but as we move along through this series, it's going to get more and more challenging. So we made it from being off the board to space 33 on the Snakes and Ladders board. Quick recap, I don't have the strongest feelings on this graphic novel. It was a really enjoyable read, but not one that's going to stick with me, but I will be keeping it on my shelves for my children. The Series of Unfortunate Events, this is the 2nd book in a row that I haven't enjoyed that much. I'm going to give this series one more chance. If I don't enjoy book 5 significantly more, like how I enjoyed book 1 and 2, then I will be DNFing this series, and that will remove quite a few books from my physical TBR. Again, they'll still be on my shelves for my children. The one was our ladder prompt, so I had to pick something that was off of my monthly TBR. This was a 5-star read. It was so good, such a good thriller. I also feel like we had a good mix of genres here, which is exciting. A very dark taboo romance, 4.5 stars. Really excited to continue on with this series. And then I just chatted about this, really enjoyed this book as well. So like I said, I would call this a success. I'm really happy with having knocked these books off. 3 of these, the graphic novel, the dark romance, and Moon Called, added series to my series tracker, but I own physically the next books I need, so perhaps they will come up in episode 2, which I'm not sure when episode 2 will be going up, but I am going to start filming it right away because I'm having so much fun using Snakes and Ladders to help me reduce my TBR. So far we have 5 books read. I earn a book purchase once I get to 10, but we're going to go shopping together once we reach the end of this board. We're sitting at spot 33 right now. I haven't hit a snake yet, knock on wood, so who knows how many books it's going to take until we reach that 100 spot. Let me know how you are enjoying TBR Takedown. Do you want me to continue on with this series? I am personally having the best time, and I hope you guys enjoyed this reading vlog. If you did, give it a thumbs up so that I know, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!